Hello guys, so in this video we will see how to choose the right domain name for your blog. So let's get started. First we'll take a look at what are the advantages of having the right domain name. So basically having the right domain name could help achieve brand recognition much faster for your blog and can make the ranking of your websites on search engines a much more effortless process. So these are the two key advantages of choosing the right domain name. And now let's see what is the biggest hassle of not having the right domain name or not having the best domain name. It is to have to switch between the domain names in between. For example, you have chosen a particular domain name and after a while, you have started getting traffic. Some people know about that particular domain name. And now you have reached a stage where you feel that you have to switch the domain name. You feel that you haven't chosen the right one. You want to move to a new domain name. It really affects you in two ways. First one, the audience that you have built till that point will not be aware of the new blog that you have built, will not be aware of the new domain name that you have. They will try to go back to your old name. They will still might be searching for the old name. So it will really affect the brand awareness you have. And the second one, it will kind of hurt your search engine rankings as well. Because search engines might have started ranking your old domain name. The search engines must have had the thought that, okay, this is a trustable domain name that is providing good content. You're slowly building that authority up. And at a point, you are then suddenly moving to a new domain name. It will kind of hurt you. Of course, there are 301 redirects where you can do it without much impact on SEO, but still up to a point, it's not the best activity you should do. So the very best move for you is to decide on the best possible domain name at the very beginning stages itself. So if it means that you actually have to delay your blog starting process by a week or two, it's absolutely fine. What's more important is that you take your time and you choose the best possible domain name from the beginning stage itself. And having to switch between domain names is one of the biggest hassles you can have. So after hearing that, you might now be wondering like, oh, okay, does this mean that if my domain name isn't the best one, does it mean that I won't be able to succeed? Does it mean that my blog will not get traffic? No, that is absolutely not the case. It doesn't matter what the domain name is. It doesn't matter what the domain extension is. Anyone can succeed in blogging. So with the right attitude, with the right amount of hard work, by doing the right things, anyone can succeed in the blogging industry. But the key thing is that if you have the right domain name, if you have the right combinations of things you need while choosing a domain name, the process of getting the rankings and the process of getting the traffic easier, process of creating the brand awareness, these things will get much more easy for you. So in a way, not having the right domain name will not be that much destructive, but on the other hand, having the right domain name will make things much easy for you to succeed. So that's the thing. So in case you have already chosen a domain name and you are wondering like, oh, okay, does that mean that I will have to switch the domain name? Or does it mean that I won't be able to succeed? No, of course, that is not the case. You have to work on your SEO. You have to work on the right things, and with the right amount of hard work, you will be able to make it work as well. But if you are going to start out, take your time and try to choose the best domain name that you could come up with. So let's move forward now. Let's see, what is a domain? A domain is basically the digital equivalent of your physical address. It's how basically people can discover your digital presence. Say for example, if someone wants to reach your house, what do? They have to look up your address for your home. They look at that address and they visit your home. Similarly, if someone wants to visit your website, the thing is that they have to know your domain name. Then they just have to simply type your domain name in the browser, click enter, and there they are. They have reached your website. So to summarize, a domain is basically a digital equivalent. And it's how people can discover your digital presence. As you can see in the image here, passiveventure.com is the domain name of our blog. Similarly, the domain name can be anything with a brand name dot some extension. So we'll look at that in bit detail now. Let's see the structure of the domain URL. So a domain URL mostly consists of three parts. First one is the World Wide Web, also called the www. The second one is the website name or the brand name. And the third one is the domain extension. So here, as you can see in the image, we can see the two parts. So www or the World Wide Web, you can either add that or you don't have to add that. Whichever way you type in the browser, you will reach the website. So in this case, let's look at just the brand name and the domain extension alone. So here Passive Venture is the brand name and .com is the domain extension. Moving ahead, let's see how to choose the website name or how to choose the domain name for your blog. So when it comes to website names, there are majorly two types of names that you must be aware of. They are the brand name and the keyword oriented names. So the next question, which is better, brand name or a keyword oriented name? And before we see that, there is one more thing that we have to see: what exactly is a brand name and what exactly is a keyword oriented name? And what are the difference between them? What are the advantages of having one over the other? So first, let's see about keyword based names. The advantage of having a keyword based name is that it's really easy to improve your SERP rankings. So SERP rankings basically means search engine result page rankings. So that is how much you rank on the results pages of the search engine. And the better your SERP rankings are, the more traffic you will obviously receive. And what's the advantage of having a brand name, or when should you go with a brand name? So you should go with a brand name if you have a bigger vision for your blog. And if you plan to own a brand of your own, in that case, you should go with a brand name. Because in that case, you might not have the advantage of having a particular keyword with it, but you will be able to build more brand retention and you will be able to build more brand awareness. So let's look at some examples to understand this better. Some brand names include Amazon, Apple, Google, etc. And keyword based names include Passive Venture, Nomadic Mat, Digital Photography School, etc. So as you can see, in the keyword based names, we have included like keywords. For example, Passive Venture, when you see that name itself, you will be able to associate it with, okay, it's related with passive income based ventures. The Nomadic Mat, the nomadic itself tells us that it's about nomadic life, it's about travel. Then the Digital Photography School, the name itself suggests, it's about learning about digital photography. And these are keyword based names that include keywords. Passive and venture, two keywords in that passive venture name. In Digital Photography School, we have digital and we have photography, we have school. But on the other hand, brand names are simple words. They are most usually some 4 to 6 letter names like Amazon, Apple, Google. And these are brand names are most usually made when you have plans to reach out to a much bigger audience. So you want to reach 10 million people, 100 million people, a billion people, then you need to have names that people can remember, names that are easy, names that have that brand value of their own. But on the other hand, what you want to do is you want to rank on top of the search results for a particular thing. You want to teach people about one particular topic and you want to be on top of that search engine, then you should obviously choose something like a keyword based name. So if your aim is to actually build a $10,000 per month or a $100,000 per month blog, then I think it's better if you go with a keyword oriented name. But if your vision is to build a big brand of your own, say something like Apple or Google, then obviously you should go with a brand name. So having one name doesn't mean you won't be able to do the other thing. So you can use a brand name for your blog and you can obviously use a keyword based name for a big brand that you are planning to build. It's okay. But generally we see that brand names are used when you plan to build a big brand, and keyword based names are used when the aim is to rank on top of search engines for one particular topic that you are targeting. So let's move ahead. So now that we know how to choose the brand name or the keyword based website name, so the next step would be to finalize the domain extension. So as we have already discussed, The website name and the domain extension comes together to form the complete domain name. So let's look at few of the popular domain extensions that are available. So some of the most popular ones include .com, .net, .org, etc. And of these, it's always best to choose the .com name. Why? Because of the sheer popularity and the inherent trust that is associated with .com domains. Let's take an example. Suppose there were two websites. The first one was passiveventure.com and the second one was passiveventure.xyz or something like say passiveventure.blog. If you had to click on to one of these websites, which one do you think you would click on first? You would click on passiveventure.com, right? Because we are so used to .com websites, there is an inherent trust that is associated with this. We don't think that .com sites generally don't tend to spam. But on the other hand, when we see, new domain extensions that we are not familiar with, we tend to kind of associate them with kind of spammy websites. So that doesn't mean all the other ones are spammy, right? There are many popular websites using many innovative domain extensions. But generally, it's always best to stick to the .com names itself. And .com names are so popular, it's actually hard to even find good .com names nowadays. So we'll have to do a fair bit of research to identify good ones. But still, if you are able to find one, that's the best one to do. Moving ahead, let's see some of the tips that you have to keep in mind while choosing the domain names. First one, try to keep the domain names short, catchy, memorable, and easy to spell. If one person has visited your website and if you want that person to revisit it, it has to be kind of memorable. The name has to be memorable to the person. And for it to be memorable, it obviously has to be a bit catchy. It has to be short. If there are 3 or 4 different words in your domain name, it would be really hard for someone to remember that. And above all, if you want them to tell your website name, if they really loved it and they want them to tell it to their friends or you want them to tell it to somebody else, it has to be easy to spell, right? So these are few of the things that we have to keep in mind. These are few of the basic things that we should know. So another thing that you could try out is you can try to build a personal brand using your own name as the domain name. For example, Ryan Robinson has ryrob.com. Then there is a cup of Joe by Joanne. So that's something that you can also try out. If you want to build a personal brand of your own, you can try to use your own name as the domain name for your website. Third one, always try to stick to English names. So that's the best. But if you're actually focusing on a particular region where the people speak a dialect of their own, where there is a local language, if it's there, then it's okay if you use language based on that, names based on that local language. But the best thing is to stick to English names. Because, unlike a normal brand that we build, unlike a product that we sell in a particular region, say you have a shoes that you sell on a particular country like US or on a particular state specifically, let's take you sell it on California alone. But instead of that, if you are building an online presence, something like a website, it's available to the entire planet. Everyone on the whole earth are able to access it. It doesn't matter if a person is from Australia, if he's from India, if he's from Europe, or if he's from the US, everyone from everywhere are able to access your blog. And as we know, English names tend to be most popular. So if you want more people visiting your website, if you want it to be, more attractive to everyone across the whole planet, then it's best to stick with the English names. And number 4, always think long term and choose a domain name that is not too narrow. For example, you may start with a very niche domain name, and later once your blog grows in authority and you want to write about more related topics, you might be constrained by that. For example, let's say you started blog that is named something like strength training mastery abc.com, where ABC could be anything. So basically it's about mastering strength training. And after some time you have wrote a lot about strength training. Now you want to write a bit more about other fitness topics as well. Okay, so now basically you are moving from strength training alone to the generic fitness niche. But at the same time, when people are looking for general fitness tips and they see a website name that is like strength training mastery abc.com, it's a bit weird. Kind of think of one more thing. You have reached a point where you have grown above fitness and now you are like kind of focusing on the entire health category. And people looking for health topics, when they see something like strength training mastery abc.com, that's like even weirder, right? So you need to think long term. What's your vision? Where do you want your blog to go? Do you want to stay with just the strength training alone? Do you wish to, kind of expand to the general fitness area? Or do you wish to expand to the entire health category? So have a vision, decide what you want to do, and choose your name accordingly to that. This is really important, because once you choose a name, then changing it is a real hassle. You do not want to go through that process. It hurts your brand awareness. People won't be knowing what your new domain name is once you switch to that. So the best thing, choose a name after thinking about it before you start your blog. And so the fifth one, make sure that whatever names you choose are not trademarked by other parties. So you might fall into legal trouble. You should not use some names that are based on the names of very popular characters or very popular trademarked items or products or something like that. Always make sure that whatever you choose are not trademarked by others and you do not infringe the copyrights of other people. So that is also really important. So to summarize, a domain is basically a digital equivalent of your physical address. It's how people can discover your digital presence. They type in a domain name on a browser, they enter it, and they visit the address where whatever your blog or website or business, whatever that is held. And there are two important steps while choosing a domain name. The first one is to identify the website name. The second one is to choose the domain extension. And while choosing a website name, you can think of two different options. You can go with a brand-based name, something like Apple, Google, Amazon, etc. Or you can go with a keyword-based name, something like Passive Engine, Nomadic Mat, Digital Photography School, like that. And while dealing about the domain extensions, there are many domain extensions available like .com, .net, .org, .blog, .photography, etc. But it's always best if you stick to .com domain extension. It's just because .com is so popular and people tend to trust the .com domains more than others. And again, when you are choosing the domain name, try to keep the domain name short, try to make it catchy. You have to make sure that the domain name is memorable, it's not too long, and it's easy to spell. So you can also try experimenting your own name as the domain name and build a personal brand of your own. That is also totally up to you. And when you are choosing the website name, try to stick to English names and also try to eliminate using numbers or special characters like dot, hash, all these things in the domain name. So again, you have to think long term. When you are choosing a domain name, take your time. See what your vision is for the blog, how much you want your blog to expand, and depending upon that, you have to choose a domain name. Make sure that the name you choose is not too narrow. It has to be like an intermediate topic. And finally, you have to make sure that whichever names you choose are not trademarked by others. You do not want to fall into legal trouble. So make sure that whatever you choose is a bit unique and it's not out of some very popular movie characters or some popular products by other famous companies or something like that. Make sure that whatever you chose is unique. So with that, we have come to the end of this video. I hope I was able to provide you guys with some key takeaways. Thank you.